Alrighty. So, yeah, for anyone who didn't catch last stream, this game is called 80 Days, and based on the Jules Verne novel, like Around the World in 80 Days. And you are a valet or butler that is working with a wealthy gambler that made a bet that he could make it around the world in 80 days, and you're trying to do so and find routes between cities in this steampunky world, essentially. That is fair, Freck. That is fair. So, we can zoom out and basically take a look at our route so far, right? So we started in London, went through Paris, went all the way to Istanbul on like a military transport filled with mechanical soldiers that are commanded by flutes. We went down to Agra, which is a walking city. So we rode the walking city over to Calcutta. From Yadanaban, we went down to Rangoon. In Rangoon, there was a sentient mechanical griffin, basically, that was very imposing and insisted we go up to Pengsa Pass. So we did so. We went up to Pengsa Pass and rescued a revolutionary buddy of his. Went over to Beijing, took a boat over to Vladivostok. In Vladivostok, we were imprisoned for a few days because they didn't know if we were supposed to be there or not. Eventually let us go. Went over to Yokohama, took a big, long cruise that was supposed to go to San Francisco, but due to weather, we got detoured and went down to Honolulu. This was outrageous, so our master tried to start a mutiny there, but we pretty much told him it was a terrible idea and didn't do a very good job of seeding the seeds of discontent, so the mutiny didn't happen. So we grabbed an airship ride. We were going to go to Acapulco, but when we got to Acapulco, there was like an all-out fight with a massive airship battle in the sky. Didn't exactly seem like the safest space to land, so we went down to Panama City instead. From there, we took like a kind of rickety old small couple-man airship down to Lima. Took some pretty like sketchy travels all the way over to Rio here. And now we're on board an airship towards Freetown here, hoping to make our way back up to London before, well, in the next 17 days, I guess. So that's pretty much where we're at. So there's a lot of making little decisions here and there, sort of stuff. Trying to upkeep your master's health, your funds, and your speed, getting back to London quickly. We caught a cargo ship carrying disassembled parts and machinery, bound for a new ironworks in Freetown. We could build a smelting furnace in the cargo hold, the first mate informed us, with no little pride. Hey, Michael B.M. Thanks as always for the continued support. I'm doing pretty well. It's not a particularly direct route, certainly. You take the routes you can. I mean, like, there's not always transportation available. We did a lot of, like, bribing people to make trains come sooner and stuff like that, like leave sooner than they're supposed to, that sort of stuff. But things get rerouted, plans get changed because of various reasons. You know how it goes. Sure. Transporting heavy machinery by air was expensive indeed, and I wondered at the efficiency of it. The owners of the new ironworks are eager to begin, explained the first mate. They have money to waste, so why should we complain? Alright, comb that mustache. So we started with $4,000. We've had as much as 20,000, a little over, maybe 21,000. And we're back down to about 9,000 now with some heavy recent expenses. Greetings, Super Mike Man. I mean, he still could use some help. We could use some better relations with him. This is fine. I passed the time aboard the airship tending to my master as best I could, trying to take his mind off our impending return to London and our equally impending deadline. Little did I know, I would soon be cursing my arrogance, for as the English say, counting my chickens, that we might ever return at all. Alright, so these little conversations are some ways that you can get more information about routes and stuff. I don't know where Belim is, so sure, ask about possible route there. I suppose by now you feel you have seen the world. No. So you can't see very well the routes yet. We have one route out of Freetown already, so that's probably good enough. But if we get more information, that's good too. We don't care about Washington. Oh, was Dakar down here? Dakar was down here, wasn't it? So that's a terrible thing to ask about. So I'm just getting information on routes that do not matter to me. There's definitely some amount of geography knowledge that is helpful for this game. Porto Novo. Don't know where that is. Well, probably not, yeah. That give me some routes I do not care at all about. Good. Oh, wait, this might be a route. Where's this? No, that's not a route I care about. That's a route that might have been useful earlier, maybe, but... all of these places are real as far as I know. Knowing real geography should be somewhat helpful. Right, okay, no, Dakar is over here. So yeah, we wanted to actually ask more about Dakar. That was what would have been most useful, but that's okay. So, Marrakesh, Tangier, Libsyn, those are the places we're looking the most, because we need to just basically beeline north as soon as we hit Freetown. And someone was here at 56 days, that's pretty impressive. I assume something along those lines, Frank Parrot. This is my first playthrough of the game, so I don't know exactly how it treats the in-game and stuff. We made good time out of port, and I found myself watching the clear skies and glittering ocean with a sense approaching contentment, when a piercing whistle interrupted my reverie. The airship shuddered and convulsed, and I slid across the suddenly tilted deck. "Harpoon!" the captain cried out. "We're under attack!" All options. "Let me help," I cried, seizing a nearby crewman. "What may I do?" "Be quiet and let us about our business," she hissed, and tossed me back on the deck. The airship tilted and bucked, and I saw an enormous harpoon had pierced her envelope. She was deflating at a prodigious rate, plummeting towards the ocean below. I would not die like this, on a sunny day, amongst virtual strangers, in an unfamiliar place. We crashed with an almighty judder, and I felt the water pull me down with a sense of unreality. It was cold. I was so cold. And that was the last thing I remembered. I woken to a warm hand on my face, and a voice pitched low in my ear. "Be easy, my friend," it said, soft and sweet. "You are safe now." Oh man, dissing Long Live the Queen. Long Live the Queen is mostly awesome. And Long Live the Queen is, like, completely non-random. And yeah, as Tricky noted, I did not notice until Tricky pointed out, we don't currently have money. Interesting. Alright, do we want to know our friend, or where we are? What's more important? I mean, there's enough paths in Long Live the Queen that, even as someone that generally doesn't play very many visual novels, or even think that highly of them, I guess, although that's changing, I've played too many good ones, but, I did what, like 4 playthroughs of Long Live the Queen, and they were all starkly different. Starkly different playthroughs, I would say. "Who are you?" My question came out an unintelligible mumble, and I felt a hand smooth my wet hair back. "Shh," it said, and I swear I saw a flash of metallic fin as I slipped back into unconsciousness. That's a lot of time passing. We don't got time for this. I woke in a gleaming hall of brass and black glinting obsidian. Everything was dappled in blue-green light, twisting the shadows into unfamiliar shapes. I don't think I've seen dappled either. There's a lot of words in this game that I haven't seen. So are we in near Atlantis now, maybe? At that point, it's not generally considered a visual novel anymore, though, is it, Ed? I attempted to sit up, full of questions and incoherent fears. It was silent in the hall. A deep silence layered over the sound of lapping water. I looked up and saw above me a curved dome of distorted glass, pushing back the ocean. Shoals of fish cavorted beyond it, as though through a window. Was I still dreaming? The shock was too much for me, and I slipped back into the swirling darkness. It's another full day. I've lost so many days. It'd be like a roguelike with no gameplay. Parentheses, the perfect game. You have a unique desire, I would say. I awoke to the sound of laughter. Once more, the impossible dome lay above me, and I found myself, once more, unable to stop staring. A strangely familiar voice spoke. It seems too wondrous to be real, does it not? We've always been about praising how awesome everything is this run, so we'll kind of stick with that flow. It is utterly magnificent, I agreed, too awestruck to be appropriately fearful. My captor, rescuer, stepped more fully into the light, an androgynous woman wearing a thin drape around her hips and chest. Her arms and legs were pitted with brass and copper ports, as though for attaching machinery. Why did you bring me here? It was not you that we desired, she said with a rueful smile, but your ship's cargo. You are an unintended consequence. Pablo! What could one say to such a statement? She pulled me to my feet and bade me follow. We walked through hallways of carved stone, gaslit corridors draped with rich tapestries, vast rooms filled with churning machinery, all tended by people with black skin and copper ports marking their limbs. This place, she said, is called Atlantis. Okay, this is Atlantis rather than near Atlantis, apparently. What? I croaked, feeling my knees go weak and wobbly. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that we call this place Atlantis, she amended. We built it so that we could be free. You built this place? Me, and many others. Such a place is the work of many hands, she said easily. Every one of us was once a slave, and we took the technology that enslaved us and built this place as an escape. Who, after all, would look for us here? Full of madness and torment. We'll go. She laughed, and it was strange and unsettling. These people had bought their freedom, but at what price? We entered a vast gaslit cavern with a wide pool at the center. There were men and women frolicking within, but men and women such that I had never seen before. Delicate copper fins were attached to the ports on their arms, and their legs were encased in glittering automaton tails. Hey, Samalander. Yeah, there's definitely a balance in this game between actively, like, choosing the story and responding to this story. But why? I asked, unable to tear my eyes away from the mechanical ports on her arms. We have made the ocean our home, she told me patiently. It would be foolish not to adapt. A tall Atlantean with a scar bisecting his cheek swam up to the edge of the pool. You should not be alone with a stranger, my lady first. I mean no harm, I said, raising my arms reassuringly. Why does he call you first? Because she is our leader, the man gritted out with a glare. That is so, the woman smiled, her teeth charmingly uneven. I am the first who escaped, reborn in shipwreck and storm. Now you shipwreck others. We always being friendly. Very poetic. I crossed my arms. But what does that mean to me? First waved a hand at me, tiring of my arguments. What? I've been polite. How have I not been polite? Excuse me. Rejoin your friends, she declared. They were at least polite. Oh, well, I said very poetic, but what does that mean to me? That's not what I was actually meaning that in earnest. Was the option I intended to choose. That took another day to rejoin the rest of the crew, for some reason. Monsieur Fogg and the crew of the airship were staying in quarters near the top of the dome. And I could not help but notice that the doors were bulkheads, as though this room could be flooded and then pumped free at will. So far, my master declared, our hosts have been civil, if not entirely courteous. They cannot keep us here forever, I remarked. They must send ships to the surface. Monsieur Fogg looked upward, and so did I, just as the dark shadow of some strange deep-sea fish slid away overhead. We must hope that they do, he replied thoughtfully. Our options seem limited. This is an outrage, spluttered the airship captain. My business will dry up if I'm trapped down here. Hey, I'm Des. Oh, the money reappeared. Yeah, maybe Fogg has the money. They didn't steal our money. We should appeal to their sense of justice, I suggested. I do not think they are cruel people. They blew up the envelope of my airship and raided its body for parts, the captain spat back. They are thieves and would-be murderers. But my master held up a hand. Be steady. My good valet may yet be right. He has been known to show some perspicuity in the past. With that, he began banging on the bulkhead door of our room. And that was when I realized it was truly a prison. Sure. Across the Americas? What? We're not going back to the Americas, I hope. That was a pointless conversation. And I hosted 2 blogs, Imdaz. Otherwise, played a bunch of board games, including with ne'er-do-wells like Pro Gaming with Ed here. And Extra Tricky. and the rest of the villainous Mahjong gang. The first had me dragged before her the next day. Her message was clipped and to the point. You are all free to go, now that we have the parts and machinery we needed. I hosted... first part I hosted was Hitman Blood Money through Hydra Castle Labyrinth. And the second was Titan Souls through Wolfie the Red Hood Diaries. Just be nice, I guess. I thanked her profusely, but she scowled at my fawning. Do not thank me. We're not in the business of keeping slaves. And besides, who would believe any tales you chose to tell? Sure. Zenkyo first, I replied with a slight bow. She waved arm, fins swishing through the air. I backed quickly out of the hall. Monsieur Fogg was well enough, and most eager to continue our journey. He did not seem to care very much about Atlantis or its wondrously monstrous inhabitants, beyond informing me that the first had agreed to let us accompany one of their trading missions in a submersible. We will be in Ponta Delgada in 2 days, the Albert crowed. Their engines must be extremely efficient. Where's Ponta Delgada? That's... No. Where... No. Oh, it's over here. Okay, that's actually amazing. That's actually even better than Porto Novo. Assuming there's no further issue. And there's a way out of here. What is this, like, missile symbol? Are you traveling by, like, missile from these places? Greenland and Iceland up here? Greetings, Silent Shadow. Hey, Tom All Thumbs. Yeah, Hydra Castle's a pretty good game. I enjoyed playing through that game. I'm not really generally one for collectathon sort of games where you're just collecting a bunch of stuff, but I liked it in Hydra Castle Labyrinth. All right, so that's probably a good thing. I snatched a memento. No. Even though we've seen evidence that it probably would have benefited us in some ways. We could have stolen that flute, and that might have been pretty awesome, but we're not stealing anything. It's fine. Cheers, Silent Shadow. Oh, we spent a lot of dead time, absolutely. I'm not saying, like, it was a good thing that we went here, but, like, if we have, like, when I heard them, like, saying we're going to somewhere I haven't been before, I was, like, afraid it was going back left, back to the Caribbean or something. Like, that's not a Caribbean city I recognize, but it definitely sounds like the dozen other Caribbean cities I do recognize. I did not believe we would truly be free until the engines began to turn. I only relaxed as the fins began to flipper and we moved forwards. Alright, that's solid. That's Koma's mustache. We made a strange company indeed. Monsieur Fogg and I, the 2 passengers, an Atlantean as the pilot, and several other Atlanteans swimming alongside the submersible with their flashing fins and tails. An impossible sight. Ah, but I had already seen so many impossible sights on our journey. What was one more to add to the number? The Atlanteans put on trousers and dresses to cover up their ports. They were practiced at keeping their origin secret when they traded. I'm curious. What is it you seek here? Oranges! We'll fill our hold with oranges, the pilot grinned. The first will be pleased. They are her favorite. And with that, we parted ways, and my master and I went ashore at Ponta Delgada, and stood for a moment, once more below the wide, glorious sun. It's still pretty early, but time's about to start ticking. We need to look for a way out of here as quickly as possible. We've only got 7 days left here. Oh, it's not early. It's actually late, but that's okay. We can't look until the morning, I guess. Alright, so nothing to do. We can, we might as well double check our equipment again. Valuable here in Lisbon. Okay, we might as well just sell that off. And just taking a look at what we would ditch if we needed to go down to 2 suitcases, so we'd know how to spend our time quickly. I feel like I want to keep that set, even though it hasn't come into play yet. So probably ditch that stuff in the cushion and just keep this stuff. That seems like an acceptable plan if we need to go that route. Ponta Delgada was the largest settlement on the volcanic island of São Miguel in the Azores. Looking out from its shores, we could have been stood on an empty earth, on a single island surrounded by endless water. There must be people born on this rock who feel that way all their lives. Monsieur Fogg, of course, took in the pleasant environs with one cursory glance and bent his head to his almanac. "We have come so far," I marveled. "I can scarcely believe it." My master looked up from his note-taking briefly. "We are not in London yet," he said primly. Find out when the next airship to Lisbon departs." A practical suggestion. Time and time again, I had seen the prudence of Monsieur Fogg's approach. I paused to breathe in the scent of citrus on the way to the harbor. It lingered in my nostrils for days, long after we had departed the Azores. This practical approach, like frickin' trying to mutiny a ship that's just gonna be slower than the airship we could take anyway. Explore. Alright, what do we got? Okay, we got Lisbon. We got a direct route to London? That seems too good to be true. I struck up a few conversations here and there, hunting for options of how we might proceed. That arrives today. When does this arrive? Tomorrow. It cost $1 bajillion, but we could do it. We could totally do it. 0 luggage, but that's mostly fine. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Like that's a quick airship ride, so we don't need to pay money to go further. We barely could afford it as it is. 0 luggage. How does that work? Will we be able to carry a little bit more there, or what? None of those should really help me at all. So I don't think I care about any of that. Even if we can carry some stuff, we'd like to keep the neck cushion since we're taking a airship. Keep those. Keep that. Didn't end up going to Mary Crash. We might as well just sell that off. That's fine. Yeah, it's super expensive, and you would not necessarily have that kind of cash coming here. So maybe that's the main downside. That's the hope, that that's the main downside to this, and there's nothing else wrong with it, right? I mean, theoretically, I won't really need any of this sort of stuff. It's not like exactly bringing in much additional cash here, but spending most of our money on this, we might as well sell off the stuff that we don't need. I feel bad if I look at getting rid of that traveling cloak, though. That's been kind of amazing for us. Although, I mean, again, we may have room for nothing. I've never seen it say 0 freaking bags to be able to take somewhere before. That has never happened. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Alright, we'll get rid of that. If we can only take, like, we might be able to pay a little bit more to take at least one suitcase. And if we can do that, then we want something like that, I guess. Yeah. Alright, that works for me. Alright, let's snooze. We might just be able to make it to London yet, huh? We passed an anxious night, with our 80-day deadline looming. Every sunset seemed to carry extra weight. We made ourselves comfortable for the night. I'm still gonna go out and explore. You gotta explore. And I went out to explore a little, where I saw a remarkably energetic Boer cleric in a heated altercation with a porter. A confrontation I chose to avoid before it turned to blows. That's fine. Let's get ready to go. Make sure that's the one we've selected. Okay, straight up cannot take luggage. Alright. All in. The 6 of 1 was a privately owned airship that we spotted, quite by chance, as it landed to refuel. The craft looked like it had seen better days, but we took the risk of all the same and climbed aboard. Next stop, our captain called out. Hyde Park and a cup of tea. Monsieur Fogg looked out the observation deck windows with perfect calm, as though we were not, with every passing moment, drawing closer and closer to London. My nerves were in shreds, and I was nearly chewing on the rails with anticipation. I spent the remaining time watching every possible danger, one eye on the crew, the other on the ship, ready to react to the slightest trouble. But nothing broke the peacefulness of our day. We tethered at the airship dock. We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park, and felt, for the first time in 75 days, the feel of English soil under our shoes. At long last, we had returned to London, and had time to win the wager. I did not expect a direct route to London there. And then when it was there, even with the high cost, I kind of still expected something to go kind of wrong. I seized my master by the collar and threw him into one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the Serpentine in Hyde Park. "To the Reform Club!" I shouted. That's more fun, but it seems like a good way to, like, I don't know, get in prison before being able to do, I don't know. Throwing 50 pounds at the driver is an inducement to speed. "And you'll have another 50 when we arrive. Now drive!" "There is no need for such unseemly haste, Passepartout," my master noted. But I was a man possessed. The streets of London seemed quaint and old-fashioned as they flashed past my well-traveled eyes. The carriages were mostly horse-drawn, and gas lamps rather than electricity lit our way as we raced down Pall Mall. The carriage barely shuddered to a steam-hissing stop before I dragged my master from a seat and up the steps to the imposing doors of the Reform Club. I released him only when we reached the great saloon, where my master's 5 antagonists stood from their chairs, gaping in an attitude of great shock. Monsieur Fogg only straightened a little and said, in his calm voice, "Gentlemen, here I am." The room erupted into cheers. Where had the crowd come from? Had they followed us inside from the street? I had scarcely noted them. I realized, as though a spell had suddenly broken, that we had succeeded, and my master had won 20,000 pounds. With the 4,000 we began with, the debt built up from the banks along the way, and our remaining funds, it was a profit of over 17,000, hardly a meager sum. My heart began to beat again, and I saw, for the first time, the crowds who had forced their way into the club to witness the momentous occasion. A journalist in dark blue bonnet caught my eye. "And you must be the loyal valet, Passepartout," she said. "I do not believe we have been introduced," I remarked. "All of London has been fervently following Phileas Fogg's progression in the papers." She swept her gaze over me and scribbled furiously in her notebook. "Your master will be tomorrow's headline, or I'll eat my hat." Hey, Sereth. Pretty good. We just won, I think. Greetings, Kuroi Nico. "I am quite overwhelmed," I admitted. "I am not surprised," she agreed. "You should sit down." I pushed my way through to Monsieur Fogg, who had nearly been swallowed by congratulatory crowds. "You have won the bet, monsieur," I told him. As though saying it aloud once more would make it more real, and then repeated the sentiment again, for good measure. Monsieur Fogg pressed my hand warmly, and did not remark even once upon the impropriety of my gesture. Indeed, though his cool gaze did not so much as waver or soften, I believe he welcomed the chance to shake my hand. "Any gentleman would be fortunate to call you his valet, and you have been a worthy companion to me besides," Monsieur Fogg said. And I knew that, from him, there could be no higher praise. Mr. Fogg, the blue-bonneted journalist cried, interrupting our conversation. "What next for the great adventurer Phileas Fogg and his loyal valet Passepartout?" My master looked at me. I returned the glance. "I've always wondered what is at the center of the earth." I looked around at faces of the assembled crowd and quirked an eyebrow. "Anyone care to make a wager?" Oh, I guess I was saying that? I was saying that. "Does anyone care to make a wager?" Monsieur Fogg refrained from rolling his eyes. "I believe," he said said with great deliberation, "that tonight I will have supper and go to bed. Come, Passepartout, it grows late." "Yes, Monsieur Fogg," I said, and followed. Your journey around the world is complete. Yeah, my big main knowledge of Disgaea is that it can be the grindiest grind that ever was a grind in any game that ever had a grind, and you can grind that grind to grind some grindy grind. That's most of what I know about Disgaea. Celebrated Englishman Phileas Fogg wins round the world wager. Journey completed in 75 days, despite Indian rebels destroying train line in Chittagong, nights of rough sleeping, and arrest in Vladivostok. There was only one night of rough sleeping, and that was because we literally were just, like, too busy, like, screwing with our suitcase stuff to sleep at the hotel, and then it forced us to sleep on the ground. Traveled 33,000 miles. Altered direction Honolulu, altered direction Panama City, departed via gyrocopter. That's we slept rough in Istanbul. The city was empty, yeah. City of Poets. Left early on mechanical elephants, basically. Hey, Summoner Peyton. Okay, so it's not super grindy if you're just playing the game. Favorite transport Atlantean submersible? I'm guessing that's not terribly possible, but maybe. So, 80 days? I mean, we visited, what, 20 out of 169 places we could visit. So, certainly a lot of flexibility for other areas. I don't know exactly just how random a lot of the intermediary stuff is, but there's certainly some amount of inelegant randomness here and there, just like that the text like didn't quite make sense and was a little weird, but mostly it flowed pretty well and ended up kind of telling a good city. Oh, was it 29, Thuxix? Maybe it was. That would make more sense. 20 is so few cities to go around the world. I mean, we could try to visit the North Pole. That's an option. If we want meta goals, if we play this again. That's the most just like, I guess, normal, obvious sort of meta goal that would make sense. Yeah, you could go to Greenland or Iceland and see what the hell the rocket transportation's about. Looks a little horrifying. We can't actually see specifics other than the dots at this point. Like, where does the North Pole actually come in as far as circumnavigation goes, right? It's a little awkward. It's just like, let's make a beeline for the North Pole, then, you know, Like, loop back to Canada and cut across. Easy every time, right? Made it in 45 days. Nothing in Antarctica. That's fair. Rotating the map freaks out a little bit when I try to rotate it around that part. I don't think I knew that New Zealand was actually that far from Australia. What is this here? Also, like, this would be a terrible place to go. Like, why would you ever want to go down here? I don't know, you like go due south and like take a shipping line around Africa or something? Yeah, there's just the one city you can go to in Australia. Yeah, I mean, they have fewer cities on some of these places just because you have, you know, a lot less reason to actually visit them. But there's still all of these places in Africa, which like you really don't want to be here. You could end up here, I guess, if your route out of South America ends up taking you down here or something. Or you just wanted to travel that way, I guess. It seems awful, but... Well, I mean, there's Madagascar. I do not have any idea what islands lie east off of Madagascar. Alright, enjoy your look, Frankfurt. I mean, I'll be streaming for a little while longer at least. I'm just kind of trying to figure out, I don't know, what I want to do with the rest of the stream, right? Like, we're close to normal stream ending time, but like it's weekend. We can stream later if we want to. We certainly don't have enough time for another full playthrough of this, though. It's a little too long, but. Yeah, I know, Super Mike Man. We got rerouted constantly at the end. It's like, alright, we're leaving Japan, trying to get to San Francisco. Got rerouted to Hawaii. Alright, I guess we'll take Hawaii down to, begin with an A-N. I don't remember the city name. Nope, can't go there. Going to Panama. Okay, we'd like to go east from Panama. Can't do that. Alright, go south. Alright. Alright, fine. From Rio, we can go over to Freetown in Africa. Nope! Get kidnapped by freaking Atlanteans. Now we're going up here. I haven't played Plague Inc., no. I've certainly played the original games that Plague Inc. is based on that are, you know, not actually very good games. Acapulco, yes, thank you. Reunion Island, huh? Yeah, I think I've heard of that, at least in name. Oh man, that globe can spin for quite a ways if you wanted to. All right, now we're a disco globe party. How much could we like spin it such like, oh, here's a city we should try to go to? All right, good spin, good spin. Practically the only spot on the map with just like nothing there. Like there's something up here a little bit, but that's like that doesn't really count. Good spin. Oh, I didn't get the angle. I need to spin an angle so it goes both ways. There we go. Where does that stop? We'll look it up here. I don't know, I guess we could start another playthrough of this. Unless someone else has an immediately brilliant suggestion for something else. I mean, most of the nations of the world seem to be in some form of war. Yeah, we'd stopped at Russia. Canada's over here. No going to Newfoundland, huh? Alright, I guess we'll do another run. Since the only suggestion was clearly objectively bad. I don't actually know enough about the Grand Stream Saga to know anything about to actually believe that is necessarily true, but I assume it is. I have no idea, and I don't know exactly what it... Like, I wonder if you could, like try that, and then, like, when you make it back, they're like, yeah, you didn't really go around the world. That's bullcrap. I'm gonna, let's see, I need to change my voice because my, like, terrible French accent was, you know, terrible. So I'll try to figure out some way to change that. I guess we'll probably keep, Fogg's voice, that's fine. A 96 PlayStation 1 RPG with actual gameplay. First of its kind. Interesting. Yeah, that seems possible, Super Ragman. Alright, onwards to the North Pole. Wait, we're in Australia now. Alright, well, that's somewhere new too, I guess. My master returned home from the Reform Club with a strange gleam in his eye. "Passepartout," he said, "we're going around the world. Pack my hunting rifle and my evening jacket. There is not a moment to waste." So we didn't actually have the Englishman set last time. That's valuable in Paris, so we can sell this off immediately for some extra funds, so that's probably a good idea. European train timetable. Alright. We don't need the pants, we'll just take the jacket. That gives us some options there. Looks like we have to start going to London. Like that was where we had to go first last time, and that remains the same. I think I just said London when I meant to say Paris, but... Hey, OBG. Yeah, we did just finish our previous run, and we made it in 75 days. We actually made it back. We leapt aboard the A25 from Charing Cross as the final whistle shrieked its warning. Our journey had begun. Alright, what do we already have? I wish you could see your routes while in the middle of the conversation so you could actually know without have the world map memorized. I didn't see which routes we had out. I don't think I care about going to Nice. Yeah, OBG, so when we had, yeah, it's pretty good decisions, mostly, I thought. We got waylaid again when we were trying to go to Freetown. We got harpooned by Atlantean mechanical men, or whatever, that had made an Atlantis for themselves after escaping captivity. And, basically got a pretty direct route from London afterwards there. That could be interesting, Ed, yeah. I'm looking to head more northern here. The fastest way to a city you've never heard of is via a city you've never heard of. Okay. Well, tell me more about city I've never heard of. Goodbye. Alright, well there's some routage. Wow, all the way through there. Okay. The Amphitrite Express rattled along narrow-gauge rails to Dover, where its fins extended and it plunged directly into the channel. Monsieur Fogg made no remark as the dark water pressed against our windows. I thought it so marvelous at the time, but how many marvels were still to come? Alright, let me actually take a look at what we know. Okay, we actually have Paris to Munich to... Like, we can kind of head up this way, and someone was separated from Fogg. Interesting. So, I mean, it's a good route. I kind of like heading up there. If we can go through the Nordic, that would be fun, but if we can't, we can't. Interestingly, there's actually like 2 routes through there. And we shouldn't... The only... Like, we can get rid of our timetables pretty safely now, I would say, because, like... Well, it probably gave us, like, this part here, so we should probably keep it at least for a little while, but, like, we don't care about these. So once we're, like... At least by the time we're in Warsaw, we don't care about the timetables anymore, I would say. We splashed up onto the rails at Calais, and closed the remaining miles to Paris-Gare du Nord quickly. According to today's paper, Monsieur Fogg remarked, the Orient Express now runs as far as Bucharest. Copenhagen. Oh wait, I don't actually need that yet. Oh, I do, actually, barely. Alright, and that departs a couple hours, that's pretty good. And that's the same train just straight to Vienna? That seems pretty good. I mean, we could go all the way to Bucharest if we wanted to, but I think we want to go up to Warsaw and explore that way. So let's roll that. We're carrying very little extra, but it also costs very little extra, so I'm just not going to worry about it. We'll carry the little bit extra and roll with it. We boarded the Orient Express at 1825 from Gare de Paris Est. Alright, we're less marveled. We're more practical now, this time around, I think. The train was extremely fast and could sweep us across the whole of Europe, or at least as far as Bucharest, where the line to Istanbul was still undergoing construction. A last long whistle blew, and we began our journey east. Tell me more about Warsaw. Warsaw connected to Minsk. Do we want to just be a jerk to everybody? The Orient Express is a fine train? Hardly. Fare's nearly £2,000. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, you should leave, but we got that, so that's awesome. We don't really have to stop. My master wished to be undisturbed, so as we left Paris, just abandoned him at all opportunities, I feel. I left him and went to explore the train. There's a delightful dining car, an observation deck formed by the replacement of an entire compartment with an open glass cube. Okay, so that's the same thing. I saw nothing that interested me, and so I returned to Monsieur Fogg, who, to my surprise, looked up from his paper at me. "What did you learn?" he inquired. So what do we actually want to go with his voice this time? "Nothing," I replied. He tutted, "Really, Passepartout, you must do better than that. You are my valet. You must discover the lay of the land." "Which land?" I inquired. He looked at me blankly. Why, all of them. How else shall we succeed? I already have, though. We arrived at Vienna in the early hours of the morning. The custom officials insisted on searching our bags for, of all things, artificing tools. So that's also same as last time. I refused this imposition into our affairs, which did not go well. A ring of officials surrounded us, bored expressions of righteousness on their waxen faces. He doesn't look like an artificer, one remarked, while another averred. The French can't make automata. It's well known. The French can do anything, I retorted, hotly, seeing in the corner of my eye Monsieur Fogg lift a hand to rub his forehead in despair. What my servant means to say, he put in delicately, is that what the French do best, they do not export. Adding, beneath his breath, which certainly seems to apply to valets. It was all a strange state of affairs. Why would Vienna, the city of music, be so adverse to any visiting artificer? Your character is now old-fashioned. And relationship deteriorated. Alright, market opens soon. When does, That's tomorrow at 10 a.m., so that's not today. And we can't bribe it to be sooner. Alright, so cities we're looking at going: Warsaw, Minsk, Moscow. I mean, that's like a one-way thing, I think. Like Terenberg. In that case, not too much reason not to explore, but we might as well wait for the market first. Let's check that. Oh, this is worth a bunch in Astrakhan this time. Okay, so that's probably pretty randomized. We got a Dusty Road and Open Road partial sets. Alright, and this was in Copenhagen. We should be able to get rid of this mostly whenever, but we want to make sure. We're in Warsaw first. Yeah, so we're probably not going to be selling that. Where's, Astrakhan? I have no idea. I don't believe I have ever heard of that city before. Probably be easier to actually like look it up rather than blindly go around. But it's like, yeah, there's a few places. Like, is it anywhere nearby? I guess is kind of what I'm checking, and it does not really appear to be. Alright, let's go exploring, because why not? Found a route back down to Venice. I did not see a single flesh and blood soldier in all of Vienna, the city of music. My dear friends, the rumors are quite real. The Austro-Hungarian Empire's might is built upon its armies of mechanical men. Their pewter faces are homogeneously handsome, though some have fine horsehair mustaches attached to their upper lips, and subtle variations in the flecks of their eyes. I strolled back along the avenues, watching the city pass by with new eyes. Under its gilded and manicured beauty lurked something sharper and more bloodthirsty. Vienna was at once the city of music and the city of war. So, you could go backwards to be freaking Venice if we wanted to. Now we're good to go. Let's just sally forward. Get stabbed in the back. You could. Is that place even weird? Yeah, maybe the market did swindle me, man. One of the cities, in Serbia. Like, there's no cities up yonder. And it's not any of those guys. It's kind of interesting that they actually show your previous route as almost emphasis like, here's where you went before, go somewhere different. We found a room in the newly opened Hotel Imperial, in a suite built for Duke Philip of Württemberg's maidservant. There was a delightful chamber group playing in the lobby, so once Monsieur Fogg was seen to, I took myself downstairs, settled down with a cognac. Cognac? I know I've heard that spoken, but not often, and enjoyed the gentle music. After an hour or so, a group of men in fine dress came in and began making an unconscionable noise at the bar. I listened in on their banter. I could hardly help it, and learned a most interesting thing. It seemed these men were local councillors who had been supervising a large movement of troops towards the train station, destined for Belgrade, and then Istanbul. Cognac, yeah. Like, this is just a setup for them to find out and get angry at me. I tried to overhear more detail, but could catch little. Conversation quickly turning to mistresses and musicianship. And thus I slipped away. Yeah, that was the route we took last time, the military shenanigans there. The thing we were checking... Oh, I can't open my suitcase again. Dang it, I had a chance. It was not the Orient Express that took us northeast from Vienna towards Warsaw. That train traveled to exotic locations. We were destined for the gloomy cold of the north, into the paws of the bear of Russia. I fell into conversation with a Russian gentleman who, as he told me at great length, was making the long journey back to Vladivostok via Moscow and the Trans-Siberian Express. I mean, I already know of that, so there's no real reason to ask about that. Sure. I asked him about Moscow, and he shrugged. Nice enough city to pass through, he said, but not one to stay in. Too easy to offend the Tsar and his loyalists there. The train juddered. I told him of our journey, and he smiled at the whimsy of it. There is much to see in the world, or so I hear. He bid me farewell, and I returned to my compartment. Alright, the thing was, Astrakhan. Astrakhan. We could sell something better here, so we'll at least, Is it possible to go from Minsk to Zarzin? Maybe, but the fastest way to Zarzin is through Minsk. It is Central Asia. Okay. So we can go down that way if we wanted to, and make a moderate amount of bank. Or we can stay on our northern Trans-Siberian plan. So yeah, there's Astrakhan. This Trans-Siberian orchestra, railroad. Maybe they play some Trans-Siberian orchestra on the Trans-Siberian Railway. That'd be pretty good. Takes 21 days though, so it's not like super fast, and it is super expensive. We'll see what it looks like when we get there. The train itself was comfortable enough, and fast. We arrived at Warsaw before nightfall. Time for the bank to still be open. Oh, it's something else valuable in Astrakhan too, huh? Timetable. Vodka, windscarf, cool. Mostly sell that off whenever convenient. And we can get rid of this now too, I would say. That timetable probably not terribly helpful with the current way we're heading. Although I could see this being potentially useful if, depending on how we want to handle this. Let's see. Departs in 2 days, huh? So we could try to talk that down. Save us some time. So that cost an extra $600 for 1 day. 1 day, like how much is a day worth, right? We're trying to get a little more cash money this time, probably. And we might still be taking some Trans-Siberian nonsense. So do we wait another day? Feels so wrong, man, waiting another day. We do spend about 100, like, so it only costs about 500, because we spend about 100 for the hotel for an extra day. Yeah, you heard me, British dollars. God, we have to pay more for the luggage, too. So, basically cost about $540 to save 1 day. I think that's probably not worth it. We walked the streets of Warsaw, feeling the air of a different continent all around. In less than 2 generations, the Tsars had made this little outpost all their own. But there were signs of dissent on every corner, for on every building project in the city, there were glued pamphlets declaring the Russians to be dogs, fiends, and Philistines. We walked further, however, and saw no disturbances. It seemed all the revolutionary types had been rounded up and shot. In fact, our, I know what the word means, but Hostelier told us later that the pamphlets themselves are produced by machines, buried by the rebels during the Troubles. No one has yet found them to switch them off. Okay. That would be interesting, Ed. Yeah, if he actually made it back to London with the 24K. Not like magically getting cheaper. I don't know. I guess we'll chill. Feels wrong, man. Oh, we could go up here though. We could go to the Nordic if we wanted to. Going out to the day, I encountered an incredible creature, as tall as a house, with wide swinging metal arms, like a rampaging giant. I stared, gawping at the terrible machine stomping from foot to foot, slowly rotating. And then I saw that in its chest was a man, using levers and switches to operate the colossal device. It was a gigantic walking exoskeleton. Greetings, Pacificism and Unsana. This game is about circumnavigating the globe in 80 days. And the adventures that happen therein. I watched him work. He operated a small lever in each hand which seemed to articulate the metal creature's arms. It was all entirely mechanical, but amplified his own movements and so looked organic. He smashed a nearby wall, and I jumped clear. I waved to him, and he looked down and tipped his cloth hat. "What is this thing?" I demanded. "It's a Kodunki," he said. "From Novorossiysk. They're shipped in a few. They've shipped in a few to help us with the building work." "From Novorossiysk, you say?" "It's a small town on the far side of the Black Sea. I don't know why they have a surplus of these things there." He pulled a lever and the machine drew back a massive arm. "How does it work?" "There are 2 levers for each hand, and they work on ball sockets. I'd let you try, sir, but I must get on with my work." The drawn-back arm smashed into a wall, and the building fell into a cloud of dust. I jumped back. "Excuse me," my friend called out, "but I must get back to work." What an incredible sight. We're now steadfast. Alright, if we wanted to go up here, that also leaves tomorrow when 8-8 leaves early tomorrow. Alright, and that is part of the same ride, right? Yeah, Baltic Ferry. Going over to Helsinki. I mean, I assume we still want to go to Moscow, but alright, how much money are we looking at here? Okay, 4,900. Yeah, we're just going to Astrakhan. Like, this is probably only like 400, but It's pretty good. I think we stay the course and go to Astrakhan. Good luck, Ed. With what remained of the day, I went to stretch my legs, but found nothing of any particular interest. Alright, only 9 pounds for a little... It's cold. I wonder if we had pants, if it would help, but we at least have a jacket. We clambered aboard the train. Monsieur Fogg settled in a far corner like a dusty old uncle, and I pressed my nose against the glass, watching the bleak countryside roll past. Trains are such marvelous contraptions. I could have been an engine driver myself, I think. If it wasn't such a dreadfully dirty job. A life of coal scuttles and engine grease. Mon Dieu! Your character is now polished. Sure. Wait, we need to select that before it goes away, I guess. Alright, so change subject to Astrakhan. Let's look for ways out of Astrakhan. Well, I guess that's maybe helpful. From Salt Lake, from San Francisco, sure. Natalia. To Kabul. I've got biscuits. Tell me more about Astrakhan. To Mount Elbrus. To Novo. Did not actually get any routes out of there. We arrived at Minsk after nightfall, and watched as people hurried from the train into the dark and cold streets. Monsieur Fogg held his teacup close, and I huddled beneath a blanket. At least for tonight, we were safe. I hardly trust you to attend my person. He's a little upset. He's probably gonna keep getting more upset. Hey, Wraiths. Yeah, I was like, I think Antalia's the wrong way, but I wasn't sure, so I was just going with it rather than considering myself too much about overthinking something that often won't help anyway. Morning came, and we were still crossing the Russian countryside, the train moving on its slow and steady way. I spent the time talking to other passengers, hoping to gather information for our next leg, and I discovered from a charming Afghan gentleman that the Trans-Manchurian Express from Karminskaya to Pyongyang is one of the fastest trains in the world. Finally, we pulled into the stone edifice that was Moscow Station and disembarked. Caribbean timetable, huh? The way we're heading south, the Indian shipping table could still matter. Fur-lined boots, definitely helpful right now. Plan still to pretty much carry as much stuff as I possibly can at pretty much all times. leaving tomorrow. That's good. It's part of the same train, so there's not too much reason to stop by Sarsin. Like, I guess we could sell the candle for more there. But then we'd have to, you know, stop, basically, so... We're not too worried about that. 97 here? Alright, we're probably not getting too much better than that anyway. That's fine. It's a little better if we could fit into 3 suitcases. We could certainly get rid of this and hope we don't want it. Like, how useful is that? That's... So we go here. Yeah, that could totally end up being useful. So let's hang on to that for now. It's so long until this is useful, and how useful actually is it? I mean, who knows? We don't want to go that way. Like, I kind of want to just go through Canada. Ideally. Or the North Pole, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, no, screw it. Let's do that. Moscow was not a comfortable city for a Frenchman. A local composer had just written a piece people were calling the 1812 Overture, commemorating the Russian victory over Napoleon's invading Grande Armée in that fateful year. Patriotic passions were at a fervor pitch. But I did not let that stop me from exploring the city, though I resolved to... affect an English accent in the style of Monsieur Fogg, should I encounter anyone. I am not ashamed to admit that I had been practicing that very skill for some time, though, it must be said, not in the vicinity of my master. I paid for a coach, admiring the coachman's uniform of blue kaftan with a fitted cap. The coach was in the new style, horseless, powered by a rumbling, coal-fed steam engine. I ventured away from the wide boulevards and the eclectic architecture of Severskaya Street towards the outdoor markets of Straraya Square. They were full of apple-cheeked young boys and wrapped-up peasant women. I found myself drawn to one particular stall. One particular stall, which seemed plain on the surface, but had a variety of special merchandise for a discerning customer, including a magnificent bottle of Chateau d'Yquem 1860. I purchased it for £50. Expensive, but sure to be worth the price for such a rich Bordeaux. As the bells of the nearby church chimed the hour, I returned to our hotel, content with my brief view of the Tsar's capital city. Oh, that is literally the same one. Okay, I thought it might be. Wait, I could sell it immediately, right? Just doubled my money. Easy every time. Alright, heading down. Here we go. Alright, we got the fur-lined boots. That's making it a lot more comfortable. That's good. Let's roll. We took a freight train towards Sarsin. Though the line was nominally a spur of the majestic Trans-Siberian, the track was of much older construction, and hardly luxurious, let us say. It was quite an imposition for Monsieur Fogg, a fact which I rather relished, truth be told. My master was used to being shielded from the harsh realities of daily life, But there was little that could be done to shield Monsieur Fogg from the rickety swaying carriage and whistling draught. Through Baku. I've got booze. I want to know more about Astrakhan. How about to Beijing? Lima? How insane are we getting here? I'm sure there's a direct route from Astrakhan to Lima. Yeah. Did we ask about Kabul yet? No. Still have not found a route out of this place yet. I was hoping to, man, but... By the end of the day, I could take Monsieur Fogg's difficulties no more, and disappeared to the impromptu restaurant car for a foul, thin borscht and a slurp of late-night vodka. From Zarzin to Astrakhan, on the border of the Caspian Sea, was a short distance, but the train managed to make a great deal of work out of it, huffing its way along the banks of the Volga. I asked the bartender about journeys from Astrakhan, and he shrugged. The hydrofoil to Tehran's good fun. Though it's a crossing that's so rough you'd better be prepared. We arrived in the mid-afternoon and went to explore this new town. That's way not the way I would like to go, but, alright then. It's at least a way out of the city. Alright, Market, what do you got for me? Another scented candle. We sell this bad boy here. Sell that bad boy here. The Russian gentleman's wardrobe set, huh? Buy all the things. Alright, when does this leave? Leaves tomorrow at 8, so no reason not to go ahead and explore. See if we can find something better. Okay, we're going... That's just where I wanted to go the whole time. The city of Astrakhan sits on the tiptoe of the Russian Bear, where the Volga River empties into the Caspian Sea. I went to investigate the river, wondering what transport across the water might be found, but took one step too far, and sank down to my knees in thick black river mud. If you sink to your knees... No, you could topple... It's to your knees. I was thinking to, like, your thighs or something. I'm like, how did you topple back at that point? I tried to jump back, but of course, bending my knees to perform the leap merely stuck me further in. The mud made an ominous sucking noise, the sound of a hungry monster slurping up its prey. There was nothing else for it. I began to scream, hoping one of the nearby fishing boats would hear me. Nothing. I felt the water rising now, cold about my thighs. I would have to save myself. But how? I found myself stuck to the knees in mud, with water around my waistline. I took a breath and went under, hoping to tug my own legs out of their muddy fetters. The buoyancy of my jacket, at least, would stop me sinking further. Did I make some progress? I could not tell. I was forced up for air. I gulped, then tried again. This time, my foot moved, sliding up out of the mire. Kicking, struggling, I freed my other leg. Then I was out of the water and panting for breath on the shore. I returned to Monsieur Fogg looking half dead. His expression, I believe, flicked a moment, but he said not a word. Not then, and not even when Astrakhan was far behind us. Presentable? My character is presentable now. What? How do I gain a presentable attribute from that? It doesn't even make sense. That's like the exact opposite of what we are, pretty much, I would say. And yes, Riven, we are indeed still streaming. So that leaves tomorrow at 9. Should be able to buy extra luggage space. I think we still want to head that way. Seems pretty good. Let's see what else we got for selling wise. Quetta, Omsk, and Herat. Herat, we've got a double sell if we happen to find something convenient. We are heading that way. Karamskaya. Alright, we could stop at Omsk if we wanted to. There's Karamskaya. And Vladivostok, of course. Otherwise, Tehran's down here if we wanted to go that way. Merv's over here. Now that's our plan. Head up north. Your speed of your actions matters sometimes, Raven. Yeah, the clock is ticking. When there's not like a text box up or something like that. If you're just like chilling in town, sorting through your luggage, the time's ticking. So. I mean, we could make a little extra money. Sure. As night fell, I ran a few errands for the hotelier, earning £68 in fees and tips. That was even less money than I was hoping for, but that's okay. So, for example, time's ticking and this leaves at 8 or 9. So, like, if I waited too long, the train would just leave and we would not be ready for it. While the rest of the world puts increasing faith in airships, the Russians seem determined to use railways. Perhaps they know something about air safety. We do not. But of all the railways in the country, the one from Astrakhan to Ekaterinburg must be among the most impressive, tunneling through several hundred miles of mountains to reach its goal. It is a dark and gloomy ride, so I spent most of it attending to my master, for the benefit of my own sanity as much as his. Do not try to entertain me. He doesn't like me very much. That's okay. Rock walls thundered past on either side. There seemed to be no end to the darkness. Not this run, Raven. I haven't had to lose suitcases, but there are definitely spots where you do. How fast do you suppose we are traveling? I asked of my master. He nodded in reply. Fast enough. That was our conversation. Just as bleak and desolate as the tunnel through which we ran. The train erupted into sunlight some time in the morning, and joined, I think, the route of the Trans-Siberian Express for the final hours of its run into the town of Ekaterinburg. I spent what little time remained playing cards with the train guard, from whom I won the hefty sum of £400. enough that I felt disinclined to stop when our station arrived. Western Star, worth 8,200 in Delhi. Probably not making that. There's the rest of our Russian gentleman's set. Valuable in places, and railway whistle completed set. I think, like, that's worth major cash money, but we're just not actually getting to Delhi anytime soon, I don't think. Arrives next Tuesday. Man, that's a rough ride. Although we've got definitely some help for that. I mean, do we want to stop here and try to go somewhere different? Or just go to Vladivostok, which we know has routes into the ocean? Like, nothing. These aren't ports, so I think we just plan on spending our funds and heading here. What kind of negotiation do we got here? No charge. It's now leaving tomorrow. Done and done. Because we are a Russian gentleman with our sick clothing awesomeness. Ekaterinburg was a grand city of the north, a hive of industrial activity. Freight trains and wagons rolled in and out at all hours, carrying all manner of steam this and electro loop that, heading east and west along Russia's Great Back. However, for our purposes, there was only one train worth mentioning, the Trans-Siberian Express, towards Vladivostok. Still, I had to look around, nonetheless. I began my search at an open area to the southeast, which I reasoned might be an airfield, and it was, but a military one. So we could maybe find another option. Can you give me one reason why I should allow you to fly with us? What an impertinent line of questioning. Perhaps I can convince you, I replied, opening my wallet. They were not sympathetic. I was marched out of the field at gunpoint. Next I tried a local coffee house, thinking I would find travelers there. The locals treated me like a curious thing found on the bottom of a shoe, and I learned essentially nothing. By now it was growing late, so I returned to Manger Fog. My master had passed the hour sipping a single cup of tea, which, it was clear from the look on his face, he had not enjoyed. Well, let's depart at noon. So technically we could have explored... Yeah, I don't want to risk it. Oh, we gotta pay that much per. Yuck. Alright. Oh, the Russian costume's covering the whole thing. Nice. Chugga chugga. We joined the Trans-Siberian Express and the Urals. Alright, hold on. Let's, So we already know one route. No, we don't actually. That was previous, so we don't actually have it this time. But, yeah, so Vladivostok is really all we're interested in. And, Yokohama, maybe? Okay. So, that to Yokohama is at least a, good thing to get. Yokohama to Honolulu. All of these are in the wrong direction, right? The one I'm not sure of is Canton, but I'm pretty sure that's not where I want to go. About Port Moresby. Alright, so we got that right. I settled Monsieur Fogg and went to explore the train, ending up in a car filled with lively cavalry officers, eating smoked fish and playing music. One of them enjoined me to play his blah, a kind of triangular mandolin. I accepted eagerly and strummed a few notes to familiarize myself with the unaccustomed instrument. Once happy with its function, I played a new Gilbert and Sullivan tune, which I had the luck to hear performed in Paris before I entered into Monsieur Fogg's service. The officers struggled to keep up with the words, but upon a second repeat, nearly the entirety of the Ekaterinburg station restaurant boomed out the chorus lines. In short, in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information, too, about matters mathematical. I know equations, both quadratic and, something... adical. And quadratical, yes. There we go. The officers were so pleased by my performance that they very generously made me a gift of that very same balalaika. I cannot wait to play it for Monsieur Fogg. Greetings, Alcuin. It is kind of a choose-your-own-adventure book, yes. Valuable in Honolulu, huh? And we can ask about this again. I don't know if you're guaranteed to find a... Is there any way from here to, like... Yeah, there should be a route from here to San Fran. Is what I want to query them about. Got, that route, I guess. That's a thing. Hey, Music Dan. Time on board trains takes on a meditative quality. I danced like a Cossack in the dining car, having consumed an indiscreet quantity of vodka. The Kazakh soldiers cheered me on mercilessly, and placed a fox fur cap on my head when I finally collapsed to the floor in exhaustion. I thanked them weakly, unable to muster any great reserves of courtesy. They laughed good-naturedly at my incapacity. "You are an able dancer, Passepartout," they pronounced, and helped me back to my carriage with much ribald mockery. So we're just like picking up random crap here. Omsk today, we decanted a full score of British, Dutch, and German merchants and took on more military officers, who cleared an entire first-class carriage for the use of a mysterious couple. I caught a brief glimpse of the women behind the Bristol of bayonets. I was fairly overset with curiosity, but it would be several days before I encountered the couple again. I mean, we could keep trying. Japan. Regina, Honolulu. Hey, Zapper. The lines are thick here, and other trains pass ours frequently. Some are filled with settlers, and others with soldiers, packed into 5th and 6th class cars so closely that I wonder if they can even breathe. I saw a darker train go past, metal cars with iron gratings that seemed to cast shadows as it moved. It was a prison train, bound for nowhere. The criminals aboard were simply carried backwards and forwards across the mountains, always moving, never stopping. I saw children's faces held up to the light. The prisoners are allowed to take their families with them. Whether that is mercy or a worse punishment for a good conscience, I cannot tell. I just wanted to see if it said, yeah, that's just Honolulu. Okay. So those are special ones that aren't worth like a huge amount, but are, you know, worth something. Hong Kong. Lots of stuff valuable in Hong Kong. Available in Manila. And yeah, Zapper, we can actually look a little bit at how it ended up, right? Close this case. There we go. So I don't know exactly where you left off, but we left the last stream off leaving Rio de Janeiro for Freetown. Our airship got shot down, harpooned by some let's say, some androids that had broken their enslavement and created a living place for themselves under the sea and called themselves Atlanteans. So we were there for a while, eventually took a ride on their Atlantean submersible to Ponta Delgada, and took an $8,000 airship ride directly to London. Hey, Peach Lover. We crossed the halfway mark of our journey today. In the morning, we wound up the Angara Valley. Yeah, that's that term, that usage of wound up. We're like winding up the on the train station, the rails rather. In the morning, we wound up the Angara Valley towards the mining camp of Irkutsk, the city of Siberia, where some passengers were leaving to join routes south into Mongolia. Why anyone would travel in that direction, I could not fathom. The Russian wilderness was desolate, but at least the train was fast. Mongolia was a desert made twice as wide by the slow animal pace of a horse's tread. Our journey continued, and by afternoon we had reached the magnificent expanse of Lake Baikal, as clear as the finest crystal, bounded by flower-banked cliffs on the western shore and containing a thriving, raucous population of freshwater seals. The track ended at the lake's edge, but the great train showed no signs of slowing or stopping. I began to feel, as my master would say, a little perturbed. There were sexy mecha mermaids. That is a thing that was there. Yes. Well, we don't actually know if they were sexy, I suppose. That's only implied. Now, my friends, this next sentence will seem to you the invention of a madman, but I assure you it is utter, unvarnished truth. We drove straight from the shore onto the clear water of the lake, causing barely a ripple. I looked out of the compartment window and saw the wheels pulled up. And, Zatalor! The train was hovering in the air through some unseen mechanism. We stretched our legs as we made the crossing. and Monsieur Fogg seemed much replenished by the unrivaled views. From the window I watched families working at their fields, dressed in colors bright as harlequins, red and blue bodices and bright bandanas which they pulled off to wave at the train. People are strange. They live somewhat bleak, and then make themselves colorful instead. Experimental hovercraft to launch from Yokohama soon. Nice. I didn't actually know you could get routes from reading the paper. So that one's direct to Honolulu, rather than pretending to go to San Fran and then going to Honolulu. I mean, that sounds like something I want to try. Experimental hovercraft. There's little to report of the outside world, so a word today on Russian eating habits. More specifically, the Russian distaste for regular meal times. I met a fellow Frenchman today who said to me, "The Russian meal is a guide to the Russian character." I made a jest about tastelessness, but he demurred. "No, it is not that the Russian have no taste. He sacrifices his finer susceptibilities to his love of freedom." I resolved to keep this thought in mind on future approaches to the dining car. If our locomotive suppers are not triumphs of culinary art, they are at least signal examples of logistical achievement. Phileas Fogg, a Tips Around the World adventure, guys. Copper shortage. I just hope we don't get imprisoned there again. We pulled into Kamenskaya at noon. From Kamenskaya, it was possible to branch onto the Chinese Eastern Railway to Beijing. But we had further to go aboard the Trans-Siberian. African airships will dominate the skies. Monsieur Fogg convinced of a desire to read an English newspaper in the morning, and so I studiously avoided him for the rest of the day. An easy enough matter, though he rather pointedly reread his out-of-date edition of the Morning Post as we made ready for bed that night. L'Anglais. Russian soldiers seen in India. Is war imminent? I think war was pretty much... We're always being declared. We reached Usyk today. Vladivostok, the final destination on the Trans-Siberian Railway, is accessible only to military officials and those with special dispensation. Being neither, we bribed the Provodnik 200 pounds to let us stay on the train beyond our permits. The attendant was an understanding sort of chap, but he nonetheless took a hefty sum to ensure our passage. No, I want more about Honolulu. Apparently I got a route there somewhere. I wasn't paying attention to what he said, because most of what they say is garbage, but we got something anyway. Hey, Adrius. We disembarked at Vladivostok amongst crowds of... I'm gonna go with uninformed officers and soldiers. My nerves were jangled. Monsieur Fogg had barely stepped onto the platform before he was already plotting the next leg of our journey. Alright, when are we leaving? Parts in 2 days. to save 1 day 870 pounds. I don't like the sounds of that. The military port of Vladivostok looked out over the calm black water of the Sea of Japan. It was populated largely by sailors of the Far East Fleet and a mix of Chinese, Korean, and Russian residents. I visited Mystroyska Slobada, Sailor Town, a hastily constructed set of low buildings sprawling out from the harbor. Sailors drink lemon tea or vodka in every doorway, and talked only of one thing: the possibility of war with Japan. I sidled over to a female communications officer who sighed heavily. It is the railway. Japan fears how close Moscow has become. The whole world is growing smaller, I observed. Yes, just so. Britain and France have their empires in Indochina, and the Tsar is looking eastward as well. After all, on a clear day, you can almost see the shores of Japan from here. A sobering thought. The thin evening light had begun to darken by the time I made it back to my hotel, but my adventure here was far from over. An imposing Imperial Army officer accosted me in reception and subjected me to a thorough search. We might be imprisoned again. I objected most strongly, and he threw me to the floor and then studiously went through our cases in my pockets anyway. Although, of course, he found nothing. Same word. Can I remember how to pronounce this from last stream? Seditious, I think. Vladivostok is a closed port. You will be held while a declaration is taken in your case. I pleaded with him, but I may as well have begged the thunder not to roll. And so it was that we came to spend 4 nights in Russian military jail. Not an experience I'd recommend, even for the hardiest of travelers. We were finally released, and it was without much discussion. We were pointed to the docks and told to leave, and quickly. We're steadfast again. Parts at noon. What? Can we, like, sell anything here for value? Yeah, sell the engine oil. Since we're 52.19 here. Want to keep the railway cap, I think. $500 for the evening jacket? Done. Consolidate a little bit as we can here. Still got time before noon. Nice. That'll be valuable when we get to Honolulu, hopefully. Alright, keep the rest, I think. Oh, we can sell this now too, actually. Yeah. Don't need the Indian shipping table anymore. Alright. There we go. Now we saved, like $9 on, extra luggage. But we have not found, anything to, make that easier. There was no, market here, right? Oh, there is a market here. They sell it to Indian time. Sure, we'll buy that even though we just sold the other thing. Wait, excuse me? Okay, well that's stupid. We're theoretically planning on going to Canada. Alright, screw it. We gotta go. Go, zoom out. Let's go. I have no idea what any of the attributes actually do, Cat, if they even do anything. We avoided the Russian military ships and instead took passage on a Korean vessel, crewed by a curious mix. I considered charging £1 for a look at him. I might have made £20. They continued to goggle at my master in mild disbelief until he fled below deck with the slightest of furrows etched in his brow. Singularly poor valet. For the first day aboard, we kept ourselves mostly... It's still... yeah. This is just how it's written. Like, this is... I thought this was like a random thing. I mean, we might have gotten the same random thing again, but... We kept mostly to ourselves. The crew seemed busy with their tasks. And, in all honesty, I did not like the look of most of them. Monsieur Fogg was his usual impervious self, however, and made his calculations, and read his newspaper. Meanwhile, the boat steamed onwards. One of the cabin girls, Elena, once again met us up. So it looks like a lot of the route-to-route stuff is fairly fixed. It's not randomized within that. Do you know my parents? That's a terrible voice. Do you know my parents? I'm busy, little girl. And my voice changed to be oddly Russian in intonation. I am busy, little girl, I replied in a kind enough fashion. Mama runs the boiler room. All the sailors are frightened of her. One day, I'll be like her. So even saying that you were busy... More seriously, a friend in the boiler room was useful. I wondered, idly, but aloud, if it would be possible to speed up our arrival into Yokohama. Elena nodded vigorously. I'll ask my mother. With that, she hurried away. Elena knocked on my door unreasonably early in the morning, eyes bright. The price of arriving today, she informed, in clear tones that suggested she was repeating a memorized script, is £800. And if you can't afford that, then you can boil your heads. Boiling our heads it is. Elena nodded seriously. I'll bring you the water from the engine room, she replied, quite seriously. I think perhaps she thought we were going to do some cooking. Elena laughed as I hung over the ship's rail to get a better view of Yokohama as we neared the port. She gave me a hug goodbye, which surprised me, though her mother watched me with hard eyes throughout our exchange. We weighed anchor as the sun set. It lit the foreign flags in the harbor with bright fires that dipped below the horizon. Alright, first check when that's departing. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. Okay. And cost not too bad, actually. Murder most foul. Right along the line that I am about to be traveling. At approximately the day and time I'm about to be traveling. Looks good. They really like their katanas in Salt Lake City, it would seem. Let's, well, first of all, for boots, sell for some. Oh, this thing. Yeah, both of the. We got some Russian stuff that sells. We definitely want that. It's not even worth that much, but we're heading right there, so it's worth enough to hold on to for now. Acapulco and Panama City. So we get two. If we get that, we'd have two things that are good in Acapulco. It's not predicting murder. It's another person playing the game encountered murder most foul at that spot. Panama City and Burlington. I feel like we don't really want to go into a 6 suitcase right now. Excitable and prim types. Not this one. Poor sour and soldier types. It's like mildly helpful, but I feel like we're a little less likely to get value out of this. It sells for an okay amount now. Let's just do that. Easy. The time was stuck because that's when the market closes, so there's no room for the clock to keep ticking at that point. Alright, so that takes a week, but I mean, I guess you're traveling a huge distance. A week is pretty reasonable. It's rough, but we just picked up gear that should make that a lot easier, so that's good.